How would you like to help your distributed agile teams to conduct their sprint planning meetings in a distributed fashion? Um, if you have large teams spread across the globe, then you have to have these meetings across, bringing in people from different locations. How do you do that? So, and this is about agile and specifically about agile transformations and taking a distributed team and making it into a team that can do and is doing agile and agile ceremonies. Hi, my name is Tim McDermott, and I am a senior IT project manager living in Tampa. I do a lot of software development projects, therefore, Agile and Scrum are very big. So I have a lot of experience with those uh, methodologies of project management. So here we go. Sprint planning meetings. When you have a large team of people, you can have teams in multiple locations. You can have teams of developers in India, and the business analysts in America, and the testers in Korea, et cetera, and they all need to. When you're doing agile and you're doing sprints, you have to have sprint planning commitment meetings. How do you conduct those meetings when you have distributed teams like that? I'm going to talk about two different possibilities. Possibility number one, just have a long sprint planning call, maybe take the entire day. Another option is to split the meetings, usually see them split in two. So first, let's talk about the long call. The advantage of it is you have good discussions with it, since you're discussing every piece of the sprint all together in one meeting. Then the discussions are a lot richer that way, and there's a lot less issues with communication and things getting misunderstood, etc., since you're completing the whole thing in one day. And another is that it's one day. You get it done in one day. That's great, rather than taking multiple days to do it, so you can get started on the other things sooner. Now, the cons of it, again, is it's a long meeting. It could take a day. People are going to therefore multitask when they're during their meeting, or go to sleep, possibly even. You're going to lose your audience for a period of time. Another thing is, if you have distributed teams, they're in distributed time zones, so some teams would have to be getting up in the middle of the night or in the early morning, etc., and they're not going to be really happy about that. So if you take that approach, you might want to maybe have in the first sprint, have it in America time, and then the next sprint, have it convenient in the India time, etc., to kind of spread the pain around. So that's how you can overcome that a little bit. Now, option number two is the two calls. Sprint planning can consist of planning and tasking first, and then the commitment piece comes afterwards. And if you're dealing with a small team or a co-located team, you can do both of those things in one day. But with a large distributed team like this, you might want to split the calls and to do this planning tasking piece in the first session, and then the next day you usually have the meeting at the same time. The next day have the commitment meeting. So the planning and tasking are done in meeting number one, and then the day two is just the team of people getting together to commit to what they can actually get done in the meeting. And during those two meetings, the separate teams can kind of look at what they've planned and what they've tasked, and get their own individual ideas about what they can get done in the sprint and what they can't. And then by the time the next meeting rolls around, say the next morning or whatever, they can all get together and discuss their different opinions about what can get done in the sprint and what can't get done, and come to a common agreement of what they're going to commit to that sprint. So that's how that approach would work. The approach that'll work is efficiency, because You're not spending a whole day in one big long meeting. That's the good side of it. And the bad side of it, though, is since it's getting split, things get forgotten between day one and day two, which later can lead to misunderstandings and miscommunications. Another con, of course, is it's over 2 days. But since these are two short meetings, it's more likely that you can get these meetings done in times that overlap these different time zones of the different teams. So it may be more easier for the developers, less painful for the developers to break it up into 2 meetings. That's it. So the next blog I'm going to do is the same thing, but I'm going to talk about the daily Scrum meetings and how to do those with distributed teams. As for me, I am just going to continue on my journey. I am here I live in Tampa Bay, where there's also some beautiful locations, etc. And right behind me here is a prairie or a field. It's very beautiful. It's supposed to be a lake, but there's no water. The water, you can see a little bit of it in the distance, but it's very dry, and the water level is very low here. Thank you all very much. I hope you liked this video. Just click on like or send me a comment if you have a question, or just click on share. Thanks, and have a wonderful weekend.